Well, Mayor Robert, welcome back to Mayor's Monday. We always enjoy these little chats, these little get-togethers once a month here in your office, and now
I'm always accessible to the media, as you guys know.
Absolutely,
so fire
absolutely.
away.
Door was wide open when I walked in. You offered me coffee, water. I mean, things like that. It just doesn't get any
Well,
better.
you paid for it technically, but that's
Right.
another story. So.
That's another story. Yes, indeed. And then speaking of paying for things, obviously, city budget season starting to wind down. You're starting to kind of get
It's
that
pretty
budget a
well
little
tweaked
more
right
nailed
now,
down. Yeah.
nailed down. If everything goes according to plan, it'll be obviously it'll be sent out to the council before time for their review. And it's been a process. We started this back in June. Department heads, staff, city council members, finance committee, paring it down or adding this or taking away that, etc. But if everything goes right, that will be decided on Tuesday, November 27th. And it should be approved or not. I don't really see why it wouldn't. It's a little over 3% as far as the increase. I was on another radio show here not too long ago, and the question had been asked as far as, is it possible not to have, some type of tax hike? Because, honestly, the city goes above and beyond in trying to find ways of saving money. But, sometimes that Band-Aid approach really doesn't work, and it gets to the point where in a lot of cases, the longer you wait to get something done, be it for infrastructure or for equipment, that type of thing, it just gets that much more expensive the longer you hold off the inevitable. And respectfully, we've got a lot of infrastructure that has been well past its prime, and it's time to replace different buildings or pipes, roads, etc. Now that there's been apparently a regime change, we're going to wait and see what happens. And it's going to take some time too, as far as the state maybe helping out. I don't know what's going to happen there. I had a very good working relationship with Governor Walker. I anticipate the same with the new governor, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But if everything goes right, Tuesday, November 27th, it will be brought before council. Public is more than welcome to come and express their thoughts. But it's a really good budget, and we haven't had very high increases here over the last couple of years, but we've gotten a lot taken care of.
You mentioned regime change with Tony Evers, of course, winning the election. Scott Walker conceding the election, actually, just a few hours after, about 12 hours or so after it was called. One of Tony Evers' campaign, I don't know if you call it slogan, but one thing he campaigned on would be everything's on the table. Now, whether that means a $1 per gallon gas tax or not, that's another thing. But Senator Pat Snyder had told me the night of the election. Representative Snyder, yes, thank you. How could I get a former WSAU employee
I was about to
wrong
say
like that? Yes, had told me that he's talked with folks across the district and across the county. They say, some have said 5 cents a gallon for a gas tax is not unreasonable. You've told me that as well.
I've said
in the past.
same thing, and and I'm not being critical of anybody, but let's face it, our roads are falling apart, not just here in the city of Wausau, but throughout the state. And I'm not really sure of the reluctance of why it wasn't done before. Nobody likes taxes. Nobody wants to raise anything or fees or anything. But you're being realistic when you're trying to address a situation. I have stated publicly that I'm not opposed to a 5-cent gas tax, as far as per gallon. I think it would improve our roads, that type of thing, and it's a whole lot better than tolls or whatever had been proposed before. I just think it's time that something is done because, respectfully towards residents and taxpayers, because again, we really do try to watch how we spend money. But there also gets to a point where, money or revenue has to be generated to pay for all this stuff. Some people think it comes for free, and I'm not saying this to be rude or disrespectful. That's just not the case. I think it would be a good idea. $1? No, I would squawk at that myself.
Tony, I believe the exact words Tony told me when I asked him about that was, if I had proposed that, I would not even vote for myself.
I was about to say, during the campaign season, a lot of things are said and done, and it's politics. But I know this is probably disappointing to folks like you, your employer, or the television, but I am so glad the commercials are over with. I mean, it's just disappointing they just trash one another and not say what they're going to do. Although there was some really positive messages from some, but overall, I think I'm like most people. I'm just glad the season is over with and we can move forward and move ahead and start working together. And I hope that unity, we're pretty lucky here as far as in the city and county and locally, but at the state and especially the federal level, I just hope people can come together and work together and solve problems, because they can't keep going like they have been.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we have to realize we're better together than we are in our own separate corners. And
It
more
can't be
things
all
can
about
get
party,
done.
it's got to be
Yeah.
about the country.
Absolutely, and we'll be looking forward to where that goes, and of course we'll be covering the budget process as well as it winds down here just before Thanksgiving.
We're an open book. It's
And-
out there right now, so
And of course, strategically just before Thanksgiving, so you can have the holiday to relax with your family.
Actually,
right?
actually, if Thanksgiving is early this year, it's
Oh,
on the
okay.
22nd. So no,
22nd.
I'm not going to be able to digest my meal, but that's another story.
That's-
Lord knows I don't need it. So
We'll be looking forward to that. We're also looking forward again to where the River Life proposal goes. You've got a new developer
Yes.
proposed. It's not been
and that has not been approved.
approved, but
That
it's
came forward
proposed.
before economic development last week, who reviewed it, and there was some really good proposals from what I understand. And again, the mayor has nothing to say or do or vote on these issues, but I was told, and from what I could see, they were very good proposals. Gorman Company out of Madison was chosen by the Economic Development Committee. It was a close vote, like 3-2, and it'll go before the city council here on Tuesday for their approval and recommendation. And then also, we're gonna be trying to move forward as far as getting the project going. We got a little time, it's winter, not too much is gonna happen now, but if everything goes right by next spring, possible settlements with the lien holders, and the developers and everything, after that was decided, you could tell it was a pretty good vibe. People are excited. I've talked to different residents, a couple of community leaders, and everybody realizes, again, what had happened with the previous developer was not the city's fault. And the good news is we're gonna be moving forward and getting her done. I was just, not to mention, there's another project, Mr. Johnson's project, on another part of the property that I can see coming along maybe in 2020. There's some things that have to be ironed out with that, but that too is a really cool and unique design and has a lot of merit. So you watch, folks, in the next couple of years, it's really gonna be humming along, so to speak.
Yeah, and the differences between the companies. We're going with somebody who's a little more local this time, a company from Wisconsin, or at least proposed to go with a company from Wisconsin. I'm guessing that's something that maybe also played a factor as well.
And I honestly can't answer as far as what the members of the Economic Development Committee chose. I was listening to some things, and it was a very, very tough decision. I know that, as far as a lot of give and take, some back and forth, reviewing, if you will, or vetting of different things, some of the background checks and the financial statements and stuff like that. But ultimately, the Gorman Company was chosen over our local guys. For whatever reason, I honestly could not tell you, but again, the good news is that something is about to be settled, and we're going to move forward.
And one of the processes, of course, that changed from Barker Financial to this one was a little more thorough of a background check and vetting process.
We
You talked
changed
about that a little bit.
Well, and remember, this is even before I was mayor. This was with that council at that time, who I was a member of. But everything had been properly vetted and checked out in that situation as well. The members on the council at that time chose Mr. Franz because everything looked good. And really everything was ultimately good until the Northland Project last year. Around this time started a lot of questions about that as far as the funding. And please remember, people, that's the reason why we had Mr. Franz come. Okay, explain to us how you're going to get through with this on the WASA side. And he was at numerous economic development and finance and city council meetings explaining how it was going to happen and how it was going to be. I had my thoughts, and we all had, okay, we just want to make sure and let the public know what's happening. And remember, he met all the benchmarks along the way. He stuck to the developer's agreement. Now, when that all turned in April of last year, I didn't wait around. You know, we had to give him time to cure, if you will, a 4-month period, which would have gone until August. But again, reminding people, purposely, we put RFPs out in May just to make sure. And the good news is, this is where we're at right now. Obviously, he did default, him and his partners. And the good news is, now we got something in the works, and it's time to move forward. And I think most residents are going to be very happy with the end result. Yes, we lost a year, and that sucks. There's no getting around it. But the good news is we're going to be moving forward.
One other project you're hoping to move forward with in the near future, a dog park in downtown Wausau. Now, you've just put out a call for anybody who wants to serve on a citizens advisory
Well, it's going to be
committee.
limited. I mean, you know,
Sure.
Here's the thing. This is something that not just myself, but other members of the council really wanted to get. And unfortunately, it did not happen. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That did not happen. As far as like, it wasn't a priority, if you will, during the CIP rankings. It kind of placed really at the bottom, which I was kind of bummed out about myself. But a dog park, it's something that is really popular in different communities. I think it's something that is needed here in Wausau. We're a big enough city. Surrounding communities like Weston and Red Mountain, who both have some really good dog parks. That's the reason why I've been kind of pushing for it, if you will. So it adds to that quality of life. It's one of those things that people like, that will bring a draw to Wausau. And if any other reason, I really like dogs.
Absolutely. Who doesn't?
Some days better than some people.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? And
Exactly.
you're looking for some folks to serve on a kind of an advisory committee.
And
I know that there's been a group out there. I think it was called Was Dogs.
Was Dogs.
Yeah, that have been involved in this process as well. What are you looking for from the folks that you maybe want to place on this committee?
Basically, a realistic interpretation of how we're going to get this paid. A lot of this ideally would be done through private donations. That's how it was done in other communities. You know, and I'm going to still try to find the funds, as far as trying to find some funds for it. But ultimately, like a community type of fundraiser, if you will, to try to find funds to try to help offset the cost for this.
Because the city has promised, well, not promised, but you've considered kicking some money into the project
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, and
Well,
other
ideally, we
things.
would have done a good portion of it. But you know what? Budgets are tight, and there's bigger priorities. And as much as we all would love a dog park here, as I said before, we've got other things we've got to take care of: roads, streets, pipes, replacement of buildings, etc., that are falling apart. So there are other higher priorities. Hence the reason why that was placed where it was. But it's another try to go around to try to get it done. It's not going to happen in 2019, unfortunately, but certainly by 2020.
And of course, it's got to get built as well.
Correct.
And put
That's
into
the goal.
place. You know, those things don't happen overnight either.
No.
As much as we'd like them to sometimes.
But you know, it's a process. But you know, again, there's enough interest and a generation of buzz, if you will, as far as like, hey, this is something we'd really like, and we'll see what happens. But our goal is 2020.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we let you go then?
I would like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I know there's things that we all get concerned about, and sometimes there's that negativity out there that I wish really wasn't, because there really are a lot of good, positive things happening. I know for myself personally, I feel incredibly blessed. I love what I'm doing. I feel very honored and privileged to be here. There's days it could be a challenge, and some people make it that way, but in all seriousness, I feel incredibly blessed that I am here and that we live in the community that we do, in the country that we do. And every now and then I wish folks could remember that, because you know what? There's a lot of good, positive things happening, and that's what you got to hold on to. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the time as always, appreciate your service, and look forward to talking again next month.
Thank you, Michael. Take care, Wassa.